Have you ever wanted to cross-tune your fiddle? Or have you ever heard of cross-tuning your fiddle? I know I hadn't heard of it for a long time, up till maybe 10 years or so ago. And it was for a tune called Soldier's Joy. I learned it off of a video of Bruce Malsky, who's a really well-known old-time fiddler, teaching his take, quite authentically, I'm certain, of a fiddler named Tommy Jarrell. And what happened is he would have me take the G string up to an A string, so that my tuning was then A, D, A, E on the violin instead of G, D, A, E. So cross-tuning, I find with a lot of my students, intimidates them. They're like, ooh, I don't know about that. And they feel like that's going to be weird, or it's going to make some sort of problem on the instrument, or they're going to have to relearn something new that they're kind of worried about. And while I don't ever want anyone to be forced into cross-tuning necessarily, I really want to strongly encourage you to try it if you've never done it before. I didn't know anything about it at the time. I didn't know if I needed specific strings or something different with my violin. I just did it. This is like, oh, you can do that? Brr. And it was fine. It was not a big deal. Nothing terrible is going to happen. The worst thing that could happen is you're messing around and maybe you break a string. But my experience is violin strings, fiddle strings are pretty darn durable. Unless you may have like the worst strings possible, or they're just super old. So maybe put a new pair of strings in your fiddle and try cross-tuning. It does some really amazing things to the violin. And what we consider cross-tuning in the States and maybe even Europe, or at least in kind of what we think of where classical music hails from, is not cross-tuning everywhere. I've been studying some Norwegian and Swedish music, and they're, from what I understand at least, the little I do understand, in Norway, they play a lot of tunes in this high bass tuning of tuning your G to an A, so A, D, A, E. That's kind of like their standard. That's the standard for their Hardingfele or Hardanger fiddle. So cross-tuning doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be something really wild and out there. It's actually, I think the fiddle is built for it. I think it's meant to be opened up into all these possibilities. Standard is beautiful. There's a lot of great things we can do in standard. But crossing your fiddle, there's just certain things you can't get from it otherwise. I was teaching a student yesterday, and he finally cross-tuned after I didn't necessarily push him into it or anything, but I was like, we should try it one day, you'll like it. He was kind of like, I don't know, maybe. And one day he texted me or something. He was like, I did it, it's amazing, I had no idea. And he went to cross A. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Run my G string up to an A string. I might have to work on it a couple times in the video. Run my D string up to an E string. If you're nervous about this, I've heard that you can loosen the string first and then tighten it. But it's just not a big deal. I use my pegs to get there, and then I use the fine tuners to adjust. If you have fine tuners. I like having fine tuners. So suddenly, wow, amazing. I have this whole, see how much my fiddle resonates? It's so beautiful. And one of the tunes we were working on is a tune I've been playing with a lot called Shortening Bread from Clyde Davenport. There's a number of versions of Shortening Bread out there. This is not the only one by any means, but I thought it was such a pretty version of the tune. And actually, when I listen to tunes and learn them for lots of reasons, and one of them is for teaching. So I always want to learn a tune just because it's fun, and I know I'll play it, but also I try to keep my ears open for things that I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be a great piece to help a student gain X skill on the instrument, right? So in this instance, there's this moment in this tune. Let me just play it for you a little bit. A little out of tune, my apologies. Takes a couple tries to get there. There it is. So, back to that moment. Still a little out of tune, but the point hit right there, that pulse in those low strings, and the resonance. You can't get that any other way. It doesn't mean that you couldn't play it in standard and do like a fifth, do your first finger on those two strings and do the double stop. I'm sure it'd be fine, and it wouldn't. I don't think it would sound bad. But there's nothing quite like going. Anyways, if you're inspired to cross tune, if it's something you're curious about, I hope you'll give it a shot at least. Maybe you don't like it. That's okay. That's your prerogative. But I think if you're interested in it, you'll really enjoy playing out of it. All right? Thank you.